Hi guys, today we are going to continue reading our book, Ain't Zipzer, the World's Greatest Underachiever. Yesterday we read chapters 5 and 6. In chapter 5, Hank and his friends and his families were going out to Long Island to go to his cousin's 3rd birthday party. Plus, he and his friends were going to perform their magic show, which they were getting paid for. They were late, an hour and a half late, because they could not find his sister's iguana before they left. And on the way, their friend Robert, which they call their annoying friend, who was coming along for the trip, he and Hank's sister Emily started talking about lizards, and Hank didn't realize the bond that they were going to create. Once they got to his aunt's house in chapter 6, they met his grandpa Pete was there, and he was so happy to see all of them. He treated all the kids like his grandchildren, and the kids got into, all the 3-year-olds, there were 17 of them, got into the big bag of M&Ms, and now they had a sugar rush, which means they were very hyper. Before they could start the magic show, Hank was putting the VCR tape in so they could tape the movie that Frankie wanted to see about the mutant monsters, and he put it on. There was like 500 channels, and he thought it was channel 36 that the movie was going to be on, and in a rush he put in 36, but we're not quite sure that was the right channel. So let's see what happens in chapter 7. Chapter 7. When I walked into the living room, my mom, Aunt Maxine, were trying to herd the kids into the living room. It wasn't easy. As soon as they got one kid sitting down on the rug, another one popped up like a jack-in-the-box. "Sit down, Jackson," Aunt Maxine said to a cute little boy with a buzzed haircut. "Don't you want to see the magic show?" "I don't want to sit next to him," Jackson said, pointing to a kid named Benjamin. "His diaper stinks." "I'm not wearing diapers," Benjamin cried. "I'm wearing pull-ups." "They still stink," said Jackson. "That hurt Benjamin's feelings," my mom said. "Do you want to do that, Jackson?" "Yes," said Jackson. Gotta love 3-year-olds. "I don't think you really mean that, Jackson." "Yes, I do. His smell hurts my nose." "Emily, can you help us out here?" my mom asked. Emily and Robert were on the corner of the room trying to name each tropical fish in the fish tank. "Mom, I can't right now. We're watching the catfish suck algae off the glass." "Go help your mom," Robert said. "I'll call you when he starts sucking on the filter." Emily went up to a bunch of the girls and said, "Come with me and sit down." These kids in this group are very mature. The girls just stood there holding hands and staring at her fingernails, which, as I said, were all painted a different color. "You have weird fingers," one girl said. "Mom," screamed Emily, "they're not listening." "Step aside, Emily," I said. "Let a pro show you how it's done." "Like they'll listen to you," she snapped. "Come on, girls, let's all pretend we're bunnies and hop over to the magic show," I suggested. I put my hands on my head like 2 flappy bunny ears, and I started to hop. I turned around, and holy cow, there they were, a bunch of baby bunnies hopping behind me. We all hopped over to the rug. As I was hopping, I hoped that no one was watching. He is very, very good with small children. "Now let's all jump on into our bunny holes." I squatted on the rug, and they did exactly the same thing, sitting down like little angels. I looked over at Emily. "Hey, some of us hop it and some of us don't," I said. I looked over at Aunt Maxine, and she mouthed the words, "Thank you." I felt good. Frankie had set up his magic tables in front of the stone fireplace. I took my place on one side of him, and Ashley stood on the other. Frankie had put on his cape and top hat. Ashley had put our name, Magic 3, into rhinestones across the front of his hat. She loves to decorate everything with rhinestones. "Boys and girls," Ashley began, "welcome to our show." "We're not girls," the girls engaged. "We're bunnies. Let's hop." Ashley put her fingers to her lips and tried to shh them. But they were into their bunny thing and went on hopping. Ashley looked over at Frankie and shrugged. "Poof," he said, waving his magic wand. "Now you are girls again." "Poof," they said. "Now we're poofy heads." "Frankie," Papa Pete whispered from the sideline, "go on with the show, quickly." "For my first trick," Frankie began, "I'll need a volunteer." 7 pairs of eyes stared at him. Blankly, no one moved. "Maybe the birthday boys would want to help," Papa Pete said. Ashley picked on one of the twins. It was either Jake or Zach. I couldn't tell which one until he either bit or kicked. He came forward. "Did you clean your ears today?" Frankie asked him. Then he mouthed to me, "Which one is it?" I shrugged. I really had no idea. My cousin didn't answer. He just gave Frankie a swift kick in the shin. "Zach," I said to Frankie. "It's definitely Zach." "Well, Zach," Frankie said, "I think maybe you didn't clean your ears, because look what I found inside them." Frankie held up a metal cup next to Zach's ears and made it look like quarters were falling into the cups. "It's a great trick. Unless you happen to be my cousin Zach." He started to scream his powerful little lungs out. "I don't want money growing inside my head," he shrieked, running towards his mother. "It's okay, honey," Aunt Maxine said. "It's just magic." "I don't want magic in my head," he said. "I want to ride a fire truck." I understood. Fire trucks are cool. I always wanted to be the guy who rides at the back of the hook and ladder, way up high at the steering wheel. That has to be the best job in the whole world. Well, except maybe being the owner of Disney World. Aunt Maxine carried Zach out to the backyard. This was a good thing. Now we know which twin was left without having to wait to get kicked. "How about a card trick?" Ashley suggested. No one could possibly be scared of a card. "Good idea," Frankie said. By now, drops of sweat were rolling down his face and pooling at his dimple. Frankie's dimple makes him look so handsome. All the girls in the grade love it, but now his dimple was really coming into handy to catch the sweat. Frankie picked up a deck of cards. He fanned out the cards in his hand and told Jake to pick a card, any card. Jake reached out and grabbed about 20 cards. Ashley took most of the cards and put them back in the deck, leaving Jake with just the 9 of diamonds. "Look at the card," Frankie said to Jake. Jake started to turn the card around. No, don't show it to me," Frankie said. "Why?" asked Jake. "Because if you don't tell me, I will guess it, and when I guess it, that's the magic part." "But I want to tell you," Jake said, starting to get really red in the face. "Let's see if Frankie the magician can guess the card," Ashley said. She took Jake's hand and helped him push the card back in the deck. Frankie shuffled the deck with lots of fanfare, then waved his hand over the deck and said, "Singwagi." He held up the deck so everyone could see the bottom card. It was the 9 of diamonds. Papa Pete applauded. He was the only one. "Jake, tell us, is this your card? Is the 9 of diamonds?" Frankie asked. Jake stared for a moment at Frankie, then at Ashley. Frankie asked again, "Is this your card?" Jake opened his mouth. He was going to answer. All eyes were on him. He knew it too. He stood as tall as he could without falling over. "What's a 9 look like?" he asked. Remember, he's only 3. All the adults in the room laughed, and Jake burst out crying. He got his feelings hurt. This wasn't exactly the big ending we had been hoping for. "Does anyone know what a 9 looks like?" Frankie said, his voice cracking. The only one in the whole room who raised his hand was Robert. So their magic trick isn't going so well. But to be fair, they're doing it for 3-year-olds, and 3 years old, this stuff is really above their head. Let's see what happens in Chapter 8. When the monster twins from Mars finally fell asleep, it was truly something to celebrate, something to be happy about. It happened somewhere after the fried chicken dinner and before the second birthday cake. first one of them to pass out, his cheeks landing with a little plop in the frosting. That was Jake. I know that because he only eats frosting and Zach only eats cake, so they can split a piece. Right after that, Zach fell asleep, sitting straight up, mid-chew, with his fork in his hand. We knew he was asleep because he had stopped kicking. Ashley, Frankie, and I cheered, but very quietly. We were taking no chances of waking him up. Papa Pete picked up Jake, and Uncle Gary took Zach and carried them off into their rooms. How about I set you kids up in the den, Aunt Maxine said. Excellent idea, Frankie said. A few sleeping bags, a big screen TV, and the best scary movie ever made. Remember, they wanted to watch the the mutant moth that ate Toledo movie. What movie is that, asked Aunt Maxine. The mutant moth that ate Toledo, Frankie answered. I've been waiting 10 years, 3 months, and 14 days to see it. And tonight's the night, thanks to my man Hank, who recorded it for us this afternoon. That was nice of you, Hank, my mom smiled. What are best friends for, I said. 2 of you can sleep on the couch, Aunt Maxine said. There's a blow-up mattress in the closet along with the futon. That's only enough beds for 4, Robert said. Someone's going to have to sleep on the floor. We hope you're comfortable, Robert, we all said. Robert always gets the short stick of in the group. Hey, that's not fair, Emily piped up. Fine, I said. Let's be fair and take a vote. Everyone who thinks Robert should sleep on the floor, raise your hand. Ashley, Frankie, and I all raised our hands. All opposed, I asked. That means you don't go for it. Robert and Emily raised their hands. 3-2, I said. Majority rules. Robert sleeps on the floor. I love democracy. We set up our stuff in the den and made it into the most comfortable place you've ever been. Frankie and I took the couch. Ashley had the blow-up mattress. Emily had the futon. And just to show we weren't totally heartless, we used the throw pillows from the couch to make Robert a soft spot on the carpet to rest his bony little head, so they did make it comfortable for him. Thanks, guys, Robert said. He flopped down on his new bed, but the pillow separated and made a deep crevice that he almost disappeared into. Remember, he's a tiny guy. Look, said Ashley, the pillows that ate Robert. We have our own horror movie right here before the main feature. Help me get out of here, Robert squeaked from under the pillows that were stacked too deep. It's not easy rescuing a kid from under a huge stack of pillows when you're laughing so hard you think you're going to throw up. Hey, let's start the movie, Frankie said, getting serious all of a sudden, and everybody was quiet. I don't want to miss the opening. That's when the moth slimes out of his cocoon. Don't worry, Frankie, Ashley said. It's taped. We can watch it as many times as you want. There was a knock on the door, and my mom came in carrying a tray of snacks. Look at what I brought you, she said. Celery sticks, stuffed with tofu, cream cheese, and pimento. Just what 3rd and 4th graders like. If you never tried it, this is a combo to stay away from as far as possible. Thanks, Mom, I said, closing the door behind her. Sounds yummy. Where's the tape, Frankie said. I'll load it up. No need to do that, I told him. It's in the machine, rewound and ready to go. All we have to do is press play. I walked up to the bank of machines and turned on the TV. Remember, there's a whole system in there with so many different devices. Wow, said Frankie. That's one humongous television screen. This is going to be so cool. I've got to say this, Zip, coming here was a brilliant idea. This is going to be so much better than watching the mutant moth that ate Toledo on our little TV at home. He held up his hand for a high five as I passed him. There was another knock on the door, and Papa Pete stuck his head in. Is your mother anywhere in the vicinity? He whispered. I see she's already been here, he added, looking at the tray of stuffed celery with the pimentos. He came across the room carrying a big bowl filled with ice cream bars. Not just ice cream sandwiches either, but popsicles with root beer on one side and cherry on the other. There were 2 fudgesicles, Eskimo pies, and strawberry bonbons. Some grandparents might bring you an ice cream sandwich for a treat, or maybe a fudgesicle, but how many grandfathers would bring you an assortment of ice cream bars? Mine would, and did I say, I am so lucky. Remember, he said his grandfather is the best human on the planet. Papa Pete took the celery tray away. I'll dispose of these, he said, and then left. That means he'll get rid of them. I cleared my throat and stood high right next to the television. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zipzer Theater. We are proud to be showing the mutant moth that burped up Toledo. Come on, Zip, just push the button already, Frankie yelled from his place on the couch. And I did. I pushed play and I hurled myself across the room to make my place on the couch just as the movie started. The tape crackled with static. Then the picture came on. A woman's face filled the screen. She was wearing a pearl necklace and was holding up her wrist to show us a matching bracelet. She reminded us that there were only 19 of these sets left and we better call in a hurry. The phone number flashed on and off at the bottom of the screen. What is this? The moth that ate the Home Shopping Network, Emily said. Come on, Zip, stop messing with me and start the movie, Frankie said. So remember, in the end of chapter 6, he had to rush out of the room and he couldn't remember because the guide came up so fast what channel the movie was on, and he thought it was 36, but he wasn't sure, and he had to run to the party, so he put in 36. Let's see what happened. Someone probably switched the tape, I said, but the Zip Master has everything under control. Boy, was I hoping that was true. I went to the machine and ejected the tape. Uh-oh, it was my tape, the one I had written moth on with a green marker so it would stand out against the white label. I stuck it back in and pushed and looked for a fast forward. I pushed that button and the tape sped quickly ahead. I waited about 30 seconds and pushed play again. Oh no, there she was again. The woman holding up that silly bracelet. But now there's only 15 left. What's going on, Hank? Frankie sounded like he was starting to get nervous. As a matter of fact, so was I. Where was the movie? Give me a minute to figure this out, I said. It's got to be on here somewhere. I pushed fast forward again. I could feel my heart beating. He's such a silly guy. He probably taped the wrong thing, Emily said. Not now, Emily. I don't need that now, I barked. I pushed play again and prayed the bracelet lady would disappear. And she did. Thank goodness. Only now, in her place, was a guy in tights, pulling himself up and down on an exercise machine, the Ab Flab. I think it was. There were plenty of those left for sale. Hank, what is going on here? Said Frankie. I have never heard him speak in that tone of voice before. I'm sure I taped it right, I said. Did you check the time in the channel guide? Robert said, picking up the book that lists all the programs for the month. I can't use that book, I said. There's too many letters and numbers and columns. I get confused. I used the guide on the screen. Remember, we heard in the beginning of the story that he's got a problem with learning a little bit. He's a very smart boy, but certain things are hard for him. I felt like I was being attacked from all sides. Frankie flew off the couch and grabbed the guide from Robert's hand. He flipped the pages furiously until he got to the right one. Here it is, The Mutant Moth at 8 Toledo, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., channel 336. So he missed the beginning 3. Tell me that's what you taped, he said to me, pointing to the listing in the program guide. What channel was that? 336, he barked back, pronouncing each number clearly. My heart sank. I remembered now. I had set the recorder to channel 36. I must not have seen that first number. It went by so fast, my eyes couldn't focus. I froze. I didn't know what to do or say. All Frankie wanted to do was see this one movie. I promised that I would take care of it. We shook hands on it. I swore I would do it. So he's feeling really bad that he let his friend down. And now I had messed up. I had totally and completely messed up. Just because I couldn't read the numbers moving so fast on the screen. My silly brain, I thought. I hate it. Honestly and truly, I hate every cell of it. That's very sad. Okay, so the magic show didn't go great because they're 3-year-olds and they were overtired. But as much as Hank thinks he's not so smart, he is brilliant. Especially he showed that how he handled those kids. They got through the party. They got through dinner. The kids went to bed. They're all set to watch the movie. And it comes out that Frankie missed one of the numbers. And now the movie didn't tape. The shopping network did. And he feels terrible about himself. So then we'll see what happens in Chapter 9. Do you think Frankie's going to forgive Hank? Let's see.